Billy Martin died at 61 on Christmas Day 1989. His pickup truck skidded 300 yards down an icy road near his New York home. The vehicle hit a concrete culvert. Billy was thrown through the windshield. He died shortly after arriving at the hospital. But that crash didn't come out of nowhere. Billy Martin's whole life looked like it was building toward this kind of ending. He was a genius at turning baseball losers into champions. But he couldn't stop destroying everything around him, including himself. The tragedy is that Billy Martin might have been the greatest turnaround artist in baseball history. When teams were broken, Billy fixed them. When players had given up, Billy made them believe again. But every time success came, Billy found a way to blow it up. In 1969, he took over the Minnesota Twins. The year before, they finished 7th with a 79-83 record. Under Billy's leadership, the Twins went 97-65 and won first place in the newly formed AL West. That's an 18-game improvement in one season. Then Billy moved to the Detroit Tigers in 1971. The Tigers had finished 4th the year before with a 79-83 record. Billy guided them to 2nd place with a 91-71 record. In 1972, the Tigers won the AL East title with an 86-70 record. Next came the Texas Rangers. When Billy took over in 1973, the Rangers had just finished dead last with a horrible 57-105 record. Billy engineered a massive 27-game improvement in 1974, leading them to 2nd place with an 84-76 record. He won the 1974 AP Manager of the Year award for this miracle. Later, Billy returned to the Oakland Athletics from 1980 to 1982. The A's had finished last in 1979 with a terrible 54-108 record. Billy led them to 2nd place with an 83-79 record in 1980 and an AL West title in 1981. He won AP Manager of the Year awards both years. Billy's consistent ability to turn teams around came from several gifts. He had fiery leadership that instilled a winning mentality. He was a skilled tactician who made shrewd decisions. He had a knack for player development, helping players reach their full potential. But Billy's greatest stage was with the New York Yankees. He managed them 5 separate times. Think about that. 5 times. No other manager in baseball history was fired and rehired so many times by the same team. The relationship between Billy Martin and Yankees owner George Steinbrenner was the most famous love-hate story in sports. Steinbrenner was known as the boss. He changed managers 20 times in his first 23 seasons as owner. Within this chaos, Billy Martin alone was fired and rehired 5 times. Their dynamic was so well known that Miller Lite beer commercials made fun of it. Even a Seinfeld episode joked about their relationship. Billy's first stint with the Yankees started in August 1975. In his first full season in 1976, the Yankees went 97-62, won the AL East title, and reached the World Series. He earned the 1976 AP Manager of the Year award. The peak of Billy's career came in 1977 when he led the Yankees to a World Series championship. It was his only championship as a manager. The team went 162 with the help of slugger Reggie Jackson. But success made Billy uncomfortable. He seemed to need conflict. He couldn't stand things going smoothly for very long. The most famous explosion happened in 1978. Tensions between Billy, Steinbrenner, and Reggie Jackson had been building all season. As injuries hit the pitching staff and the team fell behind the Boston Red Sox, Billy's stress mounted. On July 24, 1978, in an airport bar during a layover, a heavily drinking Billy made his infamous statement to reporters about Jackson and Steinbrenner. The two were meant for each other. One's a born liar and the other's convicted. The convicted part referred to Steinbrenner's 1974 guilty plea for making illegal contributions to Richard Nixon's campaign. Billy resigned the next day, though everyone knew he was fired. He appeared visibly distressed during the press conference, looking like he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. This pattern repeated throughout Billy's career. His drinking and fighting weren't occasional problems. They were constant, escalating disasters that followed him everywhere. During his playing career in 1957, a fight at the Copacabana nightclub in New York led directly to his trade from the Yankees. Billy viewed this as an 18-year exile from the team he loved most. In 1960, while playing for the Cincinnati Reds, Billy fought Chicago Cubs pitcher Jim Brewer so violently that he broke Brewer's orbital bone. Billy was ejected, suspended, fined, and sued. The litigation settled for $22,000. As a manager, the pattern continued. While managing the Twins in 1969, Billy joined a fight between his own players, repeatedly punching pitcher Dave Boswell. This incident, combined with his excessive drinking, led to his dismissal. With the Texas Rangers in 1975, Billy's heavy drinking began affecting his performance as manager. He fostered a wild atmosphere on team charter flights, complete with drinking, gambling, and girlfriends. After his second Yankees stint, Billy got into a bar fight with a marshmallow salesman in Minneapolis in 1979. This public altercation led to Steinbrenner firing him again. In 1985, Billy fought Yankees pitcher Ed Whitson in a Baltimore hotel bar, suffering a broken arm. In his final return in 1988, Billy was injured in a fight at a Dallas nightclub just 1 month into the season. Billy had a pattern of destroying relationships with authority figures. He was dismissed from the Twins for insubordination. His time with the Detroit Tigers ended due to differences with management. With the Texas Rangers, he was fired over disputes about trading policy. Billy also feuded with his own players. His most famous player conflict was with Reggie Jackson on the Yankees. His iconic dirt-kicking routine with umpires became legendary. Billy's public embarrassments were countless. He kicked former U.S. Vice President Hubert Humphrey out of the Twins' locker room. He made derogatory comments that led to public relations disasters. One account said Billy was self-sabotaging and that he couldn't stand success very long and always found a way to undermine himself. This suggests Billy was uncomfortable with peace. He seemed to need chaos and conflict to feel alive. His drinking amplified his natural confrontational tendencies. It turned frustrations into public outbursts and disagreements into physical brawls. When asked about his drinking, Billy would claim, "All I had was 2 glasses of red wine." He couldn't face the truth about his problem. This brings us back to Christmas Day 1989. Billy was a passenger in a pickup truck driven by his friend William Reedy. The accident happened when the truck skidded on ice and struck a concrete culvert near Billy's horse farm. Billy wasn't wearing a seatbelt. He was thrown through the windshield and suffered severe internal injuries. William Reedy was charged with drunk driving. His blood alcohol level was allegedly above the legal limit, but controversy surrounds who was actually driving. Reedy initially claimed he was driving, but later said he lied to protect Billy from a drunk driving conviction. No autopsy was performed on Billy, reportedly due to opposition from his widow and George Steinbrenner. The baseball world was shocked by Billy's death. George Steinbrenner expressed deep grief. He said, "It's like losing part of my own family, and there's only one Billy Martin." Lou Piniella was devastated. "This makes me sick to my stomach. You cannot ever think of Billy as anything else but alive." Most significantly, after Billy's death, George Steinbrenner publicly admitted he felt remorse and guilt for not helping Billy conquer his drinking problem. The uncertainty around Billy's death mirrors the chaos that defined his life. Even his final moment was wrapped in questions and controversy. Billy Martin's place in baseball history is complex but undeniable. His professional record speaks for itself. He had an unmatched ability to turn losers into champions. He consistently proved that he knew how to win. Billy's story serves as a powerful cautionary tale about how personal challenges can overshadow even the most brilliant professional achievements. But it's also a story about genuine baseball genius. The fact that George Steinbrenner expressed remorse after Billy's death shows that despite all the chaos, there was deep affection and respect for his talent. Billy Martin was truly a complex figure. He was a man of immense talent and profound flaws. His story resonates because it shows how brilliance and self-destruction can coexist and tragically intertwine. Billy Martin's continued relevance in sports discussions speaks to our enduring fascination with characters who achieve greatness despite their profound imperfections. His legacy is both celebrated for its triumphs and lamented for its tragic flaws. In the end, Billy Martin was a baseball genius. But genius doesn't guarantee peace, and peace was something Billy Martin never found. Tragic life, that's what people called it. But the way Don Drysdale died, that was just the final blow in a lifetime of chaos. From threatening lawsuits to drilling batters in the ribs, Drysdale was never just a pitcher. He was a menace. And there's one moment they never told the truth about. Don Drysdale stood 6 feet 6 inches tall. He threw fastballs at 95 miles per hour. His stare made hitters step out of the box before he even threw a pitch. This wasn't just intimidation. This was psychological warfare. "I hate all hitters," Drysdale once said. "I start a game mad, and I stay that way until it's over." Those weren't empty words. He meant every single one. But here's what they don't tell you about Big D. His career was built on fear, pure fear, and the chaos that followed him everywhere he went. From beanballs that left opponents sprawled in the dirt to clubhouse fights that made headlines. There was even the day he decided to ignore his own manager and drill a batter in the back instead of walking him. This is the story of a man who terrorized baseball for 14 years, and how his death at 56 revealed secrets that MLB wanted buried forever. Drysdale never planned to be a pitcher. He played every position except pitcher in youth baseball. Then in his senior year at Van Nuys High School, the starting pitcher didn't show up for a game. They threw Don on the mound. That accidental moment changed everything. Without years of traditional pitching development, Drysdale relied on raw arm strength and competitive fire. This created the hard-throwing, intimidating style that became his trademark. But it also created a monster. In 1995, while still in the minor leagues, Drysdale broke his hand punching a soft drink machine in a fit of rage. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a pattern. His temper controlled him as much as he tried to control batters. When the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles in 1958, they played at the Coliseum. The stadium wasn't built for baseball. The left field fence was only 250 feet from home plate. Hard-throwing pitchers like Drysdale got hammered. Home runs that should have been routine fly balls became embarrassing blasts over the short fence. This made Drysdale even more aggressive. If batters could take him deep on cheap home runs, he'd make them pay. He'd pitch inside, he'd brush them back, he'd remind them who owned that mound. The psychological warfare was legendary. Before games, Drysdale would poke Mickey Mantle in the ribs and ask, "Where do you want it today?" This wasn't friendly banter. This was a threat. Willie Mays said, "No one was meaner than Drysdale. I was knocked down every at-bat by Drysdale. Not every game, every at-bat." Frank Robinson added, "He was mean enough to do it, and he did it continuously. You could count on him doing it. And when he did it, he just stood there on the mound and glared at you to let you know he meant it." Some batters would opt out of lineups when Drysdale was scheduled to pitch. Think about that. Professional baseball players refused to play rather than face him. That's not respect, that's terror. But here's where the story gets dark. In 1968, Drysdale set a record for consecutive scoreless innings. 58 and 2/3 innings without allowing a run. It was incredible, historic, and completely tainted. During the game where he broke Walter Johnson's record, Phillies manager Gene Mauch asked the umpire to check Drysdale for foreign substances. The umpire found a greasy substance in his hair. He warned Drysdale to stop using it. That should have been the end of the story, except it wasn't. In his 1990 autobiography, Drysdale admitted he used spit mixed with slippery elm. He cheated. He gained an unfair advantage during his most famous achievement, and MLB let it slide. They celebrated the record while ignoring the cheat. But Drysdale's biggest controversy came off the field. In 1966, he and Sandy Koufax staged a joint holdout. They refused to report to spring training. They demanded a 3-year, $1 million contract to split between them. This was unprecedented. Players didn't band together like this. They didn't challenge the owner's control. Drysdale and Koufax were breaking every unwritten rule in baseball. The public reaction was brutal. Fans called them greedy, selfish, ungrateful. The Dodgers launched a public relations campaign to turn everyone against them. It worked. The press coverage was overwhelmingly negative. For 32 days, they held out. They skipped spring training entirely. To make money during the standoff, they signed contracts to appear in a movie called Warning Shot. Koufax agreed to co-write his autobiography. They were making backup plans while baseball burned around them. Dodgers owner Walter O'Malley refused to negotiate with them as a unit. He knew what this meant. If players could band together like this, they could challenge everything. The reserve clause, owner control, the entire power structure of baseball. Other owners shared his fear. This was dangerous precedent. If Drysdale and Koufax won, every player in baseball would want the same treatment. The holdout ended on March 30th, 1966. Actor Chuck Connors helped arrange a meeting between the players and general manager Buzzy Bavasi. Koufax signed for $130,000, making him the highest-paid player in baseball. Drysdale got $105,000. They didn't get their $1 million, but they got something more valuable. They proved players could fight back. This holdout paved the way for arbitration and free agency. It fundamentally changed baseball economics forever. But at what cost? Drysdale was now seen as a troublemaker, a problem player who challenged authority. His reputation took another hit. After retiring in 1969 due to a torn rotator cuff, Drysdale moved into broadcasting. For 2 decades, he was a familiar voice calling games. He had some bright moments. His call of Steve Garvey's walk-off home run in 1984 was memorable. Deep right field, way back. Cotto going back to the wall. It's gone. Home run Garvey, and there will be tomorrow. He even hosted a nationally syndicated radio show called Radio Baseball Cards. 162 episodes of stories and anecdotes from current and former players. But his intimidating persona followed him into retirement. In 1979, while working for the California Angels, Drysdale got into heated confrontations on the team plane with manager Jim Fregosi and pitcher Jim Barr. Drysdale questioned whether Barr's injury was legitimate. The injury was keeping Barr from pitching in the playoffs. After Drysdale confronted Barr, Fregosi stepped in to defend his player. It nearly came to blows at 30,000 feet. Drysdale apologized the next day, but the damage was done. His intensity, while effective on the mound, created friction in collaborative environments. The intimidator couldn't turn it off. Watching hitters bail out of the box was a lot like watching fans flip channels today, except now you've got Fubo. With over 100 channels, no contracts, and all the live sports you can handle, it's the only platform Don Drysdale might have liked. Total control, no nonsense. Check it out using the affiliate link below. July 3, 1993, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Don Drysdale was there to broadcast a game for the Dodgers. He was 56 years old, still working, still traveling. That morning, the team was scheduled to depart for their next city. Drysdale didn't show up at the departure time. Hotel staff went to check on him. They found him face down in his hotel room. Don Drysdale was dead. The news shocked everyone. Sandy Koufax said, "Don is one of those people you didn't think anything could ever happen to." Vin Scully announced the news with a broken heart, calling it the toughest broadcast of his career. But here's what they found in his hotel room that revealed the man behind the monster. Among his belongings was a cassette tape of Robert F. Kennedy's victory speech after the 1968 California Democratic presidential primary. In that speech, given moments before his assassination, Kennedy had noted Drysdale's 6th straight shutout that evening. The crowd cheered. It was a moment of triumph intertwined with tragedy. Drysdale had carried this tape with him wherever he went since Kennedy's death. This revealed something nobody expected. Beneath the tough, intimidating exterior was a man capable of deep emotion. The fierce competitor who terrorized hitters for 14 years was profoundly affected by the loss of a political leader he admired. But here's the lie they never addressed. During his famous 1968 scoreless inning streak, Drysdale used foreign substances. He admitted it in his own book. Yet MLB and the media never publicly scrutinized it. They celebrated the record while ignoring the cheat. The streak that defined his legacy was built on deception, and everyone looked the other way. Despite everything, baseball honored Don Drysdale. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1984. His plaque specifically noted his intimidating style of play. Even in death, he was remembered as the Intimidator. But the truth is more complex. Drysdale wasn't just controversial, he was protected. His record-breaking performance was tainted by his own admission, yet it stands without asterisk or explanation. He changed baseball in ways people still don't fully understand. The 1966 holdout he staged with Koufax fundamentally altered player rights. Modern free agency exists because of what they started. Don Drysdale died alone in a hotel room, carrying the weight of a political tragedy that happened 25 years earlier. The man who made a career out of intimidation was, in the end, just human. Flawed, complex, and far more vulnerable than anyone realized. His legacy remains what it always was: a Hall of Fame talent who mastered the art of psychological warfare. A player who changed the economics of baseball forever. and a man whose greatest achievement was built on a lie that nobody wanted to discuss. That's the real story of Don Drysdale, not just the intimidator, but the man behind the myth. Horrible end. That's how the headlines remembered him. But what really happened to Chet Lemon? A World Series hero, a quiet rebel, and a man who never backed down from what he believed. What they never told you is how much pain he endured just to stay alive, and what he refused to sacrifice to do it. On May 8, 2025, Chester Earl Lemon died at his home in Apopka, Florida. He was 70 years old. The official cause was complications from polycythemia vera, a rare blood cancer he'd been fighting for over 3 decades. But that simple explanation doesn't capture the incredible journey of a man who transformed himself from a struggling infielder into one of baseball's greatest center fielders. Chet's story began in Jackson, Mississippi, where he was born on February 12, 1955. When he was just 6 months old, his family moved to Los Angeles, where he grew up excelling in both football and baseball at John C. Fremont High School. College football coaches wanted him badly, offering multiple scholarships. But when the Oakland Athletics selected him 22nd overall in the 1972 draft, he signed immediately, choosing baseball over everything else. His early professional years were rough. Playing third base in the minors, Chet struggled defensively, making 33 errors in 1973 and 19 more in 1975. These mistakes led to a trade that would change his life. On June 15, 1975, Oakland sent him to the Chicago White Sox. After a brief stint at third base, the White Sox moved him to center field in 1976, and suddenly, the player who couldn't field ground balls became a defensive wizard. The transformation was spectacular. In his first season as a center fielder, Chet posted a .992 fielding percentage with only 3 errors, but 1977 was when he truly announced himself to the baseball world. That season, he set an American League record with 512 outfield putouts, a mark that still stands today. The feat earned him the nickname Chet the Jet, and suddenly everyone knew who he was. His offensive game developed alongside his defense. In 1977, he scored a career-high 99 runs and more than doubled his home run total from his rookie season. By 1979, he was hitting .318 with a league-leading 44 doubles, earning his first 2 All-Star selections in 1978 and 1979. But it was during his minor league years that Chet made another life-changing decision. At age 19, influenced by his teammate Jerry Hairston Sr., he converted to become a Jehovah's Witness. This wasn't a casual choice. For Chet, his faith became the foundation of everything he did, including decisions that would later bring him criticism he didn't deserve. One of the most visible expressions of his faith was his refusal to stand for the national anthem before games. Along with his future Detroit Tigers teammate Lou Whitaker, Chet remained seated during the Star-Spangled Banner throughout his career. The decision drew public attention and harsh criticism, but Chet explained his position with remarkable clarity. In a 1987 interview, he said, "I believe in God's kingdom. I acknowledge God's kingdom over earth. I give my allegiance to him and not to the flag. I am grateful to be in the United States, but the national anthem is a ritual. You have to think about what's being said. Rockets' red glare, bombs bursting in air. We do not believe in, nor do we salute war." This wasn't disrespect for America. It was a conscientious objection based on religious principles. The irony was striking. Chet faced criticism for exercising the very religious freedom that the flag and anthem were supposed to represent. On November 27, 1981, Chet was traded to the Detroit Tigers for outfielder Steve Kemp. Initially, the move presented challenges. In 1982, he was shifted to right field, a change that affected him mentally. He later admitted, "Playing right field wasn't real difficult. I didn't want to play it. That was my problem. It affected me so much mentally. I wasn't happy." But the Tigers showed confidence in him, signing him to a substantial 5-year contract in November 1982. When he returned to center field in 1983, Chet was back to his dominant form. He committed only 3 errors in 417 chances and hit a career-high 24 home runs. Manager Sparky Anderson called him the best defensive center fielder I've been around. The 1984 season was the pinnacle of Chet's career. As the starting center fielder for the Detroit Tigers, he played a crucial role in their World Series championship. He hit .294 in the World Series and made a signature game-saving leaping catch against Rod Carew in Game 3, a play that remains legendary in Tigers history. Throughout his 16-season career, Chet accumulated impressive numbers: a .273 batting average, 875 hits, 215 home runs, and 884 RBIs. His career WAR of 55.7 significantly outranked his draft class peers, demonstrating his sustained excellence over nearly 2 decades. However, 1990 brought the challenge that would define the rest of Chet's life. At just 36 years old, he was diagnosed with polycythemia vera, a rare blood cancer where the bone marrow produces too many red blood cells, causing the blood to thicken dangerously. The condition effectively ended his playing career. Released by the Tigers in spring 1991, Chet was immediately hospitalized and placed on blood thinners to combat internal clotting. The disease nearly killed him immediately. He lost 60 to 70 pounds, dropping to just 130 pounds, and was bedridden for weeks. The situation was so dire that ESPN reportedly prepared his eulogy. Polycythemia vera is a relentless disease. Symptoms include fatigue, headaches, dizziness, and severe itching. As it progresses, patients can develop an enlarged spleen and severe burning pain in hands and feet. The primary danger is increased blood viscosity, which significantly raises the risk of blood clots and strokes. Over the decades following his diagnosis, Chet suffered multiple blood clots and at least 13 strokes, resulting in hundreds of hospital trips. These events progressively impaired his mobility and speech. By 2024, he was unable to walk or speak clearly, confined to a wheelchair. In 1999, his condition was complicated by an enlarged spleen that weighed almost 15 times more than normal. The spleen required surgical removal in November 2001 at the Mayo Clinic. But here's where Chet's faith became a matter of life and death. Jehovah's Witnesses refuse blood transfusions based on biblical commands. Despite the enormous risks of major surgery without transfusions, Chet's conviction never wavered. He gave explicit instructions to doctors not to perform any blood transfusions. "I was very afraid, but if I was going to survive, I had to put my trust in my faith," he said. This decision, made while facing potentially fatal circumstances, showed that his faith was a powerful, guiding principle that gave him extraordinary strength. Following his retirement, Chet channeled his passion into coaching and youth development. In 1993, he established the Chet Lemon School of Baseball in Lake Mary, Florida, and founded the successful Chet Lemon's Juice travel baseball program. His coaching efforts were remarkably successful. He led Eustis High School to a state championship in 2003 and guided AAU teams that produced numerous college and professional players, including future MLB stars Zach Greinke and Prince Fielder. Even as his health declined, Chet's commitment to helping others never stopped. He founded the Chet Lemon Foundation, dedicated to empowering young athletes through scholarships while championing stroke and aphasia awareness. In August 2024, despite being unable to walk or speak clearly, Chet made a poignant final public appearance at Comerica Park for the 40th anniversary celebration of the Tigers' 1984 World Series championship team. Appearing in a wheelchair, he reconnected with former teammates and was honored by fans who had never forgotten him. When Chet died on May 8, 2025, tributes poured in from across the baseball world. Former teammates like Lance Parrish, Dan Petrie, and Alan Trammell remembered him not only for his incredible defensive skills, but for his friendliness, infectious smile, and competitive spirit. The Detroit Tigers' official statement captured the essence of who Chet really was. While he was a World Series champion and all-star on the field, perhaps his biggest impact came off of it. This wasn't just polite language. It was the truth about a man whose influence extended far beyond statistics. Chet Lemon's life was a testament to the power of conviction, adaptability, and resilience. He transformed himself from a struggling infielder into an elite center fielder. He stood by his principles even when they brought criticism. He battled a devastating disease for over 3 decades while continuing to mentor young people and support his community. They called his ending horrible, but they missed the point entirely. Chet Lemon didn't just endure, he inspired. He showed that greatness isn't just about what you accomplish, but how you face adversity and how you treat others along the way. Chet Lemon never gave up, not when he changed positions, not when he lost his strength, not even when he could barely speak. He stayed loyal to his beliefs, loyal to his teams, and loyal to the game. If that's not greatness, what is? The tragic life of Phil Niekro ended on December 26, 2020, when baseball's greatest knuckleball pitcher passed away at age 81 after a long battle with prostate cancer. But perhaps the saddest part wasn't his death. It was that in his final weeks, chemotherapy had robbed him of the use of his hands, the very instruments that had baffled major league hitters for 24 seasons. The man who could make a baseball dance through the air like magic couldn't even grip a pen to sign autographs for his loyal fans. Philip Henry Niekro was born on April April 1st, 1939, in the small working-class town of Blaine, Ohio. His father, Philip Niekro Sr., was a coal miner who pitched in the Mine Workers League. It was this hard-working man who taught both Phil and his younger brother Joe the pitch that would define their lives, the knuckleball. The knuckleball is thrown with minimal spin, making it flutter, dip, and dart unpredictably through the air. It's a pitch that seems to have a mind of its own. While other fathers taught their sons conventional baseball wisdom, Phil Sr. passed down this mysterious art that would eventually make his sons legends. Phil excelled in high school sports at Bridgeport High School in Ohio. He played both baseball and basketball, even becoming friends with future NBA Hall of Famer John Havlicek. On the baseball diamond, Phil posted an impressive 17-1 record as a pitcher. His only loss came against a team featuring future Pittsburgh Pirates star Bill Mazeroski. After graduation, Phil turned down a college baseball scholarship to sign with the Milwaukee Braves in 1959. At 20 years old, he was ready to chase his professional dreams, but the road ahead would be much longer and harder than anyone expected. Phil entered the minor leagues as what scouts called a modest prospect. There was skepticism about his reliance on the knuckleball. Most coaches and players didn't understand the pitch. They saw it as a gimmick, not a serious weapon. Phil's journey through the minors was slow and marked by inconsistency, but Phil made a crucial decision that would define his entire career. He committed to throwing the knuckleball exclusively. A minor league manager even told him to throw the knuckler or go home. This wasn't just choosing a pitch. It was betting his entire future on something most people thought was impossible to master. Between 1959 and 1966, Phil played for 7 different teams in the Braves organization. His development was further delayed when he missed the entire 1963 season for military service with the U.S. Army at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Even then, he kept pitching for the Fort Knox Army team and in Venezuelan Winter League Baseball. Phil made his MLB debut on April 15, 1964, at age 25 as a relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Braves. When the team moved to Atlanta in 1966, Phil moved with them, but it wasn't until 1967 at age 28 that he finally became a full-time starting pitcher. This made him what baseball calls a late bloomer. That 1967 season changed everything. Phil led the entire major leagues with a 1.87 ERA. Suddenly, the knuckleball didn't look like a gimmick anymore. It looked like genius. Batters were completely baffled by this pitch that seemed to giggle as it floated past them. Yankees outfielder Bobby Mercer famously said trying to hit Phil was like trying to eat Jell-O with chopsticks. Phil became the Atlanta Braves' star pitcher and remained so for 17 seasons. In 1969, he posted a 23-13 record with a 2.56 ERA, finished second in Cy Young Award voting, and helped lead the Braves to their first NL West Division title. On August 5, 1973, he threw a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres. The 1970s saw Phil at his absolute peak. In 1974, he led the National League in wins with 20, complete games with 18, and innings pitched with 302. The 1979 season was particularly unique. Phil led the National League in both wins and losses, finishing 21-20. His brother Joe also won 21 games that same year. Phil remains the last MLB pitcher to achieve both 20 wins and 20 losses in the same season. Phil's longevity was the most remarkable aspect of his career. The knuckleball put far less stress on his arm than conventional pitches, allowing him to pitch until age 48. He holds the major league record with 121 career victories after age 40. When most pitchers were long retired, Phil was still dominating hitters. At age 43 in 1982, he went 17-4 for the Braves and made his 4th All-Star appearance. But perhaps his most emotional moment came on October 6, 1985, when he achieved his 300th career win while pitching for the New York Yankees. At age 46, he became the oldest pitcher in MLB history to throw a shutout. His father was ill in the hospital, so Phil chose not to throw his signature knuckleball for most of the game. Only for the final strikeout did he unleash the pitch his father had taught him, a beautiful tribute to the man who made it all possible. Catching Phil's knuckleball was its own special challenge. Bob Uecker, who served as Phil's personal catcher in 1967, joked that the way to catch a knuckleball is to wait until it stops rolling and pick it up. Teams often had to use specialized catchers just to handle Phil's pitches. Phil's commitment to his craft was absolute. He often said, "I never knew how to throw a fastball, never learned how to throw a curveball, a slider, split finger, whatever they're throwing nowadays. I was a one-pitch pitcher." This singular focus allowed him to master something that seemed impossible to control. Throughout his career, Phil accumulated remarkable statistics. He finished with 318 wins against 274 losses, a 3.35 ERA, 3,342 strikeouts, and an astounding 5,004 innings pitched. His innings total ranks as the most by any pitcher in the post-1920 live ball era. He started 716 games, ranking 5th all-time. Phil was a 5-time All-Star and won 5 Gold Glove Awards for his fielding excellence. His humanitarian efforts earned him the prestigious Roberto Clemente Award in 1980 and the Lou Gehrig Award in 1979. He was consistently described as a genuinely good guy and a real sportsman who treated fans like long-lost friends. Despite his individual excellence, Phil never played in a World Series. The Braves were only an average team during most of his tenure, but this only made his achievements more impressive. He maintained Hall of Fame-level performance even when surrounded by less competitive rosters. After retiring in 1987, Phil stayed deeply involved in baseball. From 1994 to 1997, he managed the Colorado Silver Bullets, an all-women's professional baseball team. He described their final game of their first winning season as being as exciting as a World Series game. Phil also became a mentor to future knuckleballers like Tim Wakefield, R.A. Dickey, and Steve Sparks. The Atlanta Braves retired his number 35 in 1984 and inducted him into their Hall of Fame in 1999. They continue to honor his memory with the annual Phil Niekro Award for their top minor league pitcher. Combined with his brother Joe's 221 wins, the Niekro brothers hold the MLB record for most wins by brothers with 539 total victories. In 1997, Phil was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame on his 5th ballot, receiving 80.3% of the vote. He was the only player elected that year. Phil later served on the Hall of Fame's board of directors, where his wisdom and compassion proved invaluable. Phil's final years were marked by the same grace and dignity he showed throughout his career. He continued working with young pitchers and remained active in charitable causes throughout the Atlanta area, but cancer eventually took its toll. In his last weeks, the effects of chemotherapy prevented him from using his hands properly, a cruel irony for a man whose hands had created magic on the mound for nearly a quarter century. When Phil passed away peacefully in his sleep on December 26, 2020, tributes poured in from across the baseball world. MLB Commissioner Robert Manfred called him one of the most distinctive and memorable pitchers of his generation, but emphasized that even more than his signature pitch and trademark durability, Phil will be remembered as one of our game's most genial people. The Atlanta Braves expressed their heartbreak, stating that Knucksy was woven into the Braves' fabric and calling him a constant presence who would be forever remembered. Phil's legacy extends far beyond his 318 wins or his mastery of an impossible pitch. He proved that unconventional approaches could lead to extraordinary success. He showed that perseverance and character matter as much as talent. In a sport often focused on power and velocity, Phil Niekro found success through patience and unpredictability. His knuckleball may have been uncontrollable, but his impact on baseball and the people who knew him was profound and lasting. Though his hands could no longer sign autographs in his final days, the legacy written by those same hands will endure forever in Cooperstown and in the hearts of baseball fans everywhere. Willie Hernandez met a horrible end. A man who won the Cy Young Award, MVP Award, and World Series all in the same magical year died almost forgotten at just 69 years old. How could someone who achieved baseball's rarest triple crown fade into such obscurity? The truth about his final years reveals a story of health battles and quiet dignity that the media barely covered. This is the story of Guillermo Willie Hernandez Villanueva. Born November 14, 1954 in Aguada, a small city on Puerto Rico's northwest coast. He was the 7th of 8 children. His father, Dinicho, worked in a sugar cane factory. His mother, Dominga, was a housekeeper. Willie described his family as poor but happy. From an early age, baseball consumed Willie's life. He started as a third baseman and outfielder. His parents saw his talent and encouraged him to keep playing, but poverty forced tough choices. At just 15 years old, Willie left school and moved to the United States. He went to live with family in Chelsea, Massachusetts. There, he worked in a factory and carried auto parts to help support his family back home. At 18, Willie returned to Puerto Rico. His love for baseball burned stronger than ever. He played for local semi-pro teams and even pitched games in Italy. His talent caught the eye of a Philadelphia Phillies scout. On September 11, 1973, just before his 19th birthday, Willie signed his first professional contract. During the 1984 World Series, Willie would say, "I haven't worked any harder than my father did." Those words showed how much he respected his parents' sacrifices. He wanted to make big money to provide for his own family. Baseball wasn't just a game for Willie. It was his path to a better life. But Willie's journey to greatness would take a surprising turn that transformed him from struggling starter to dominant closer. Willie's early major league career was rough. He debuted with the Chicago Cubs on April 9, 1977, mostly as a relief pitcher. His first season showed promise with an 8-7 record and 3.03 ERA, but the next few years were brutal. His ERA climbed to 5.01 in 1979. In 1980, he went just 1-9 as a starter. The Chicago Tribune called him the Willie Hernandez Hernandez, the Cubs fans loved to boo. Willie himself admitted, "I was struggling. My attitude was bad." He blamed it on lack of consistent playing time. The booing got so bad that Willie became the poster child for failure in Chicago. But Willie refused to give up. During the 1981 and 82 Puerto Rican Winter League, Orlando Cepeda gave him valuable advice about how hitters think. This helped Willie understand the mental side of pitching. Even more important, during the 1982-83 winter season, former Cy Young winner Mike Quillar taught Willie the screwball. Willie also learned to throw a cut fastball. These new pitches changed everything. In 1982, Willie emerged as the Cubs' most reliable reliever. He posted a 4-6 record with 10 saves and a 3.00 ERA over 75 appearances. On May 22, 1983, Willie was traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. With the Phillies, he compiled an 8-4 record with 7 saves and a 3.29 ERA. He was dominant early on, allowing no earned runs in 16 of his first 17 appearances. Willie helped lead the Phillies to the National League pennant. In the 1983 World Series, he pitched in 3 games without allowing a single hit or run over 4 innings. Willie was finally showing the world what he could do in high-pressure situations. March 24, 1984 changed Willie's life forever. He was traded to the Detroit Tigers. The trade was immediately called the missing link that would push the Tigers over the thin line separating parvenu from pennant contender. The 1984 season became synonymous with Willie Hernandez's name. As the Tigers closer, he delivered a performance that baseball had rarely seen. Willie compiled a remarkable 9-3 record with a stellar 1.92 ERA and a league-leading 32 saves over 140 innings. He appeared in 80 games and finished 68 of them, both major league leading totals. The Tigers started the season with an incredible 35-5 record. During that stretch, Willie contributed 7 saves and went 1-0. His consistency was extraordinary. Between June 8 and August 4, he recorded 15 saves and 4 wins without a single loss or blown save. He successfully protected the Tigers' lead in 39 consecutive games. Sports Illustrated said Willie transformed the Tigers from a team that lost close games to one that won them. Willie earned his first All-Star selection that year. In the postseason, he was equally brilliant, winning 7 of the 8 games the Tigers played. He secured a save in the American League Championship Series sweep against Kansas City. In the World Series against San Diego, he allowed just 1 run over 5.1 innings across 3 games. Willie famously notched the final save by striking out Tony Gwynn to clinch the championship in Game 5. On October 30th, Willie was named American League Cy Young Award winner, narrowly beating Dan Quisenberry. At his home in Puerto Rico, he declared, "This is an incredible award, not only for me, but for all of Puerto Rico. I feel like I won the award for all of the people." Willie became the first Puerto Rican to win the Cy Young Award. A week later, on November 6th, Willie made history again. He became only the 3rd reliever in Major League history to win his league's Most Valuable Player award. This made Willie only the 3rd player in Major League history to win the Cy Young MVP and World Series title all in the same season. Following his historic 1984 season, Willie faced an impossible standard. Every year would be compared to his magical 1984. In 1985, he posted solid numbers with an 8-10 record, 31 saves, and a 2.70 ERA. Despite these impressive statistics, fans saw his performance as pallid by comparison to 1984. The team failed to repeat as champions, and fans began booing Willie again. The criticism got worse in 1986 and 1987. Willie's performance declined, and he struggled in the playoffs against Minnesota. The mounting frustration led Willie to request a trade. He said, "I feel like I've been pitching against the American League and the fans this year." Things got worse in 1988. On March 2nd, Willie gained notoriety for dumping a bucket of ice water on Detroit Free Press columnist Mitch Albom in the Tigers clubhouse. This happened after Albom wrote a harsh column following Willie's playoff struggles. 1 month later, Willie requested that the stadium's public address system introduce him as Guillermo instead of Willie. He defended his choice, asking, "What's wrong with using my real name?" This request generated controversy and puzzled reactions from Tiger Stadium crowds. Willie's final year with Detroit in 1989 was severely affected by left elbow tendonitis. He made just 32 appearances and recorded a career-high 5.74 ERA. Willie pitched his last Major League game on August 18, 1989. When his contract expired, the Detroit Tigers released him on December 20, 1989. Willie didn't give up easily. He attempted comebacks with Oakland in 1990, Philadelphia in 1991, and the Yankees in 1995 during the players' strike. None succeeded. After his playing career ended, Willie returned to Puerto Rico and became an entrepreneur. He owned a steel construction business, then bought a cattle ranch in the Dominican Republic. He also coached youth baseball. Despite past controversies, Willie maintained a deep connection to the Detroit Tigers. He participated in the Tigers' 2009 fantasy camp. On April 4, 2019, 2019, he returned to Detroit to throw the ceremonial first pitch at the Tigers' home opener. His loyalty to Detroit never wavered. He said, "Even when they have a bad ball club, I follow them because they gave me good memories. I want to be known as a Tiger, and I will always be a Tiger." In his later years, Willie's health declined significantly. He developed chronic asthma and diabetes. He suffered multiple strokes and underwent heart surgery in 2009. These serious health challenges took a heavy toll, but Willie faced them with quiet dignity. Guillermo Willie Hernandez Villanueva passed away at his home in Sebring, Florida on November 20th, 2023 at age 69. He was laid to rest in Puerto Rico. He had 5 children and 1 grandson. Willie's career numbers tell the story of a solid pitcher: 70-63 record, 3.38 ERA, 147 saves over 13 seasons. But his legacy goes far beyond statistics. His 1984 season was so dominant that it overshadowed a strong and consistent career. Willie remains one of only 3 relievers in baseball history to win both the Cy Young and MVP awards in the same season. His cultural importance as the first Puerto Rican Cy Young winner inspired countless others. Willie Hernandez's story is one of perseverance, peak performance, and resilience. He rose from poverty in Puerto Rico to baseball's highest honors. Though Willie faced struggles with fan criticism and health challenges later in life, his loyalty to the Detroit Tigers never wavered. Willie died too young and too quietly, but his impact on baseball and his cultural significance ensure his memory will live on. He achieved the impossible triple crown of Cy Young, MVP, and World Series champion all in one magical season. That's a legacy that transcends any tragic ending.